Good afternoon. Today we are reporting a cumulative total of 852 people who have been tested positive for COVID-19 in Tulsa County. We had 38 new reports today. 677 people have recovered, and sadly, 40 residents of Tulsa County have died from COVID. We had one more death today, a male in their 70s. I hope that we keep all of these individuals in our prayers and our thoughts. Throughout this COVID response, it's been really important that we follow the data, and we have been continuing to do that. Case numbers up until today really were trending downward, which was a very positive sign. We had a large increase today, but that included 14 residents and 8 staff from a long-term care facility. The governor mandated that all long-term care facilities in the state, including those in Tulsa County, be tested, so we've been going through that process. So we expect to see a little higher case number until we finish testing all long-term cares. Hospitalizations in Tulsa County continue to trend downward. And for people, we've had a lot of questions about our data. We have all of our data posted on our COVID page website at the health department. We do that to be transparent so everyone sees the same thing that we see. Also, just as a reminder, anyone who wants and needs a COVID-19 test can be tested. We will do that. Call the health department to make an appointment. Call 918-582-9355. So far, just through our pods, our driver pods only, we've tested 2,833 people. And we talk about testing our long-term care facilities. So far, we've tested 2,370 residents and staff of long-term care facilities in Tulsa. So if as we've talked about before, we have lots of guidance for businesses as we go through our reopening. If your business has questions on how to operate safely, please visit our website for guidance. We now have guidance in both English and Spanish. We have also been communicating with our local school superintendents regarding guidance for next year's school year and possibilities of high school graduations. And you know, as we go into Memorial Day, I know that we have relaxed in our perspective and our view of COVID-19. I do want to emphasize, as we are happy that we have been seeing downward trends, but we are not back to normal. And we are not back to normal, the normal that we had in January before this started. So just want to remind everyone to be aware of that. Health Department will be closed Monday in observance of Memorial Day, but our epi operations will still be in effect, and we will still continue to do case tracing, contact tracing, and case notification through the holiday. We want everyone to have a safe and healthy holiday weekend. And as remember, we are not back to normal, so please continue to help be our partner in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Remember, social distancing, wear your cloth face masks, gather in small groups, clean high-touch surfaces, wash hands, or use hand sanitizer. And we know that there's a good chance, I'm sure everyone's ready to get outside, everyone's ready to do grilling. I know we're going to have some gatherings this weekend, so please remember all of our recommendations around foodborne illness to prevent spread of that. Wash your hands. Make sure that raw and cooked foods are kept separate. And please refrigerate any leftovers quickly. We've also started our mosquito control activities, and we're testing and we're spraying. Just as a reminder, COVID-19 is not transmitted through mosquitoes, but just for your own protection, continue to wear insect repellent. And to remember to not allow puddles of water to stand at your home so that we don't have mosquitoes growing and multiplying, so dump all standing water. You know, it's been a really interesting time for all of us. We at the health department continue to provide services at both our Central Regional Health Center and our JOG, or James L. Goodwin Health Center. We've also, like all businesses who are reopened, we've really implemented enhanced cleaning guidelines. We screen both our staff and everyone coming into our building. And yes, if you come to Tulsa Health Department, you will be given a mask if you don't have one to wear. Also at the Health Department, our WIC services are available online or on the phone through the end of June. We will make decisions then to determine whether we will open our facilities back up. Parents, it's important to stay on your child's immunization schedule. It's amazing. We're already in May. Back to school immunizations will be coming very, very soon. Check your child's schedule. Call us, make an appointment. We want to make sure that your children are fully immunized before the school season starts this year. You know, we are very happy to see our downward trends, and with the exception of today, regardless, that's a positive sign. Want to thank everybody who has really embraced their role in preventing the spread of COVID-19 in Tulsa County. So thank you all. That's really a huge testament to everyone who lives here. So please, let's not relax. You know, this battle is not won. This war is not over. We still have to remain vigilant. We still have to do our part to break the chain of transmission for this virus. I do want to announce that in March, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation announced Tulsa County as a finalist for their highly ranked and prestigious Culture of Health Prize. It's been amazing. We've tried so hard. We've done so much work to improve health status and community health and the environment for everyone in Tulsa County. This is a testament to that work that the community has done together to improve families and neighborhoods and conditions here in Tulsa County. So that site visit was supposed to happen this spring. It'll be postponed until next year, but let's continue our trend to being healthy. Let's continue doing what we can to not only keep our neighbors healthy, but keep our families and our communities healthy. So we're in this together. We're going to continue to move forward. Let's continue to do the right thing for you and for those around you. I'd now like to turn it over to Mayor Bynum.
Thank you, Dr. Dart. For those of you who are watching these online or on TV, you see us here on a screen, but you don't necessarily know where we are. So these are held in the CompStat Center at Tulsa Police Department headquarters, which rests right above the Emergency Operations Center. And it's a little surreal to be holding this briefing just above the Emergency Operations Center on this day, because it was 1 year ago today that I was out in the morning surveying damage in North Tulsa from a tornado that had hit North Tulsa, and got a call that I needed to come to the Emergency Operations Center because the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was going to announce that they were going to start releasing water from Keystone Dam that could put us into a flood situation. And you think about the year that we've been through since this morning a year ago. We have been through tornadoes. We have been hit by a historic flood. We were hit by tornadoes while we were flooding. Our energy industry has been hit by a historic crisis due to issues of international relations. We have been hit by a global pandemic locally, and with that has come an economic crisis that impacts our entire country and a public health crisis that impacts our entire country. And if I had told Tulsans on May 20th, 2019, that that's the year that we get to look forward to, I can't imagine anyone would have believed it. And yet, here we are as a city, and during that same year where all those horrible things have happened, we have also announced the largest economic development investment in the history of our city. We have announced that WPX is going to build a $125 million headquarters facility in downtown Tulsa. We've broken ground on USA BMX. We have announced that after talking about it for over half a century, we're actually going to build the Gilcrease Expressway that's going to open up North Tulsa and West Tulsa to economic development that's never been possible there before. And now, just in the last week, we know that we as a community are competing to bring one of the most innovative companies in the entire world here to our city. I mean, it's amazing, the dichotomy there of the opportunities that Tulsans have pursued over the last year in the midst of natural and economic disasters. And I think that says so much about our community. If you want to, I think a lot of the time we talk about the resilience of Tulsans in historic terms. It is very much a present day term. Tulsans have proven over the last year how resilient we are as a community and how we can have disaster after disaster thrown at us, and yet, what do? We focus on the things that we can control, we keep putting one foot in front of the other, and we watch out for our neighbors. And those three approaches have served us so well throughout this pandemic. And they served us so well through the flooding last year and the tornadoes that hit us and so many other crises. And so, as a mayor, I just want to thank all Tulsans for the approach that you've taken over the last year. I think there are plenty of other cities where you would have not seen the kind of stoic resolve that we've had here in our community. And we move forward stronger than we were a year ago because of it. I do want to make a few announcements. As many of you will recall, we started at the beginning of the pandemic. The City Council and I allocated funds to start a resilience and recovery fund. We have now allocated $1.1 million in no-interest loans to Tulsa businesses. While that is a great thing, that does not compare to the way Tulsans have stepped up and supported our local businesses with your own dollars. And as Dr. Dart just mentioned, we see continuing downward trends, which is all very positive. We see our state and our city and our county reopening, which is very positive. But we still have a long way to go for our local economy to heal. And I know at our household, we're continuing to stay focused on making sure that every dime that we spend is going local. And I encourage my fellow Tulsans to be mindful of trying to do the same with your own dollars that you have to spend. Please keep it local and support our neighbors who own and operate businesses here in our community. As part of our reopening program, we're now halfway through, probably, phase 2. That the governor, of course, will make an announcement at some point over the next week on when we'll begin phase 3 and what that might look like. But as we move ahead, the city of Tulsa is continuing to shift back towards our in-person operations for those employees who've been working remotely. We're bringing them back. This week, our municipal courts reopened, and I really want to credit our judges and the administrator at our municipal courts. They've done just a fantastic job, both here at the city and at the county, of getting those reopened and operating them in a safe way for everyone that needs to go through our local judicial system. And I think they've shown that there are ways, just as our local businesses have, that we can re-engage, but do it in a safe way. And so on June 1st, we plan for all of our City of Tulsa employees who are able to return to work and cease working remotely to do so. And that will begin, our plan is for that to start on June 1st. Of course, an exception being for those vulnerable individuals who have compromised immune systems or are in an age range that might make them vulnerable to the virus, and we'll continue working with them to allow them to work remotely. We also have several services that have reopened. The licensing center on the second floor of City Hall is reopened. You can go there anytime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And on May 22nd, tomorrow, the Working in Neighborhoods Neighborhood Dumpster Program, which is one of the more popular programs we operate. So we put a dumpster in a neighborhood. Folks in the neighborhood who have any bulky waste they want to get rid of can just take it right there and dispose of it. That will resume starting tomorrow, and you can get more information on when that scheduling will be, where those dumpsters will be, or if your neighborhood wants to sign up for one, you can get all of that at cityoftulsa.org. On May 27th, for everybody that's been hanging on to your hazardous household pollutants, things like latex paint, light bulbs, other things like that. The household pollutant collection facility will be open on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 4:30 by appointment only. And again, you can reach out to them at cityoftulsa.org. And then the MET, the Metropolitan Environmental Trust, is reopening recycling depots across the Tulsa area, and you can find out more at metrecycle.com. So again, I just want to thank everyone in our community who not only has handled the last year so well, but you look at how we as a community have handled phase 1 and 2 of reopening, and I think the evidence there is in the continuing trends that we see that have been over the last several weeks in a downward trajectory. Of course, we expect them to either level out or maybe even start to increase at some point, just by the nature of more people being out and about. The key with that, though, I would caution everybody as we look ahead, is when you start to see an increase, think about that in relation to our local healthcare system's capacity to handle it. That's why we implemented so many of these initiatives to flatten the curve over the last 2 months. It wasn't to just prevent any spread of the virus. That'd be nice, but that's unrealistic over the long term. The reason we did it was to allow our local healthcare system to establish the capacity it needed to serve Tulsans who might need medical assistance. And what we know now is that since the beginning of April, our hospitals have seen a continual downward trend in COVID hospitalizations. They feel confident that they have capacity for an increase. And then also last week, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers completed construction of 3 floors at OSU Medical Center here in downtown Tulsa that provide 120 beds for COVID patients specifically. In addition, our hospitals have all assured me that they now have plentiful supplies of protective equipment, which was a real concern at the outset of the pandemic. So our local healthcare system is just so much better positioned right now to handle the inevitable increase whenever it does happen. And that's what we all need to be keeping our focus on. So please continue to be mindful. Please continue to practice social distance. Please wear a mask when you can, and wash your hands with frequency. And if we do that, each of us can continue to focus on the things we can control, slow the spread of this virus, and get back to our lives as we would like them to be, rather than the way they've had to be in order to protect lives over the last couple of months. Now I'd like to turn it over to County Commissioner Karen Keith.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank all of you for wearing your masks. And again, I encourage you to have some fun with them. I think we saw our sheriff have a little fun earlier this week, and you can find it on Facebook if you want to see it, but he's wearing his mask. So I did want to report that our courts opened on Monday and there were no real issues. I am so grateful. I want to thank the judges, our sheriff's office, the court clerk, and Commissioner Salee for getting the numbers down and creating a safe way for people to come in and manage to get their work done with the court system. And mostly I want to thank the public for their cooperation. Now, Tulsa County Parks has been working diligently to make recommendations for a phased reopening of our park system. The team reviewed CDC, State and National Parks Association guidelines, and based on their research, is allowing restricted practices at our ball fields as of last weekend. They also have a sound plan to reopen our community centers in a controlled manner that keeps everyone safe. In fact, LaFortune Park's Community Center opened last Friday with limitations in place for the number of citizens that can enter the center, as well as modified recreation programs that adhere to a safe number of people in any given area. Staff plans to open Chandler Park and South County Community Centers tomorrow. O'Brien Community Center is still being restored from last year's flood, but they also plan to open that when the work is completed. The Bixby Community Center will stay closed for now as the team works on how best to program activities that fit that center's amenities. And additionally, the grills at both La Fortune and South Lakes courses. They've been taking to go and carry out orders, but beginning tomorrow, they will begin a phased reopening of our dine-in options. And they're going to be doing all the things other dine-in places are doing, a reduced number of tables, disinfection of the tables, and there will be no common use containers. You know, when you go up and hit the mustard, you can get a little packet instead. So just take advantage of those things. Now, unfortunately, we are going to keep our 2 pools at La Fortune Park and South County. We're going to close them for the summer. There's just no way to manage the back of house areas with everybody coming and going. It's such close quarters that that's just not going to work for us this summer. We do, however, hope that larger groups will be able to gather later and we can open our splash pad at O'Brien and our splash park out at Chandler. So lastly, the Parks Department is finishing up outlining procedures to start summer camps at our community centers, golf courses, and Case Tennis Center. It's been a collaborative effort throughout the department to find and outline best practices to keep staff and the participants safe. Now, the team anticipates those programs could start as early as June 1st. Expo Square has been slated and selected for the 2020 National Junior Angus Show, which was originally scheduled for July at a location on the East Coast. The show has been relocated to Tulsa. And events like these keep youth and agriculture moving forward. So being centrally located has positioned Expo Square to quickly adapt and be part of that show's solution during this difficult time. And safety, I can tell you, is a top priority for everyone at Expo Square, and they're looking forward to welcoming visitors back for this and other planned events. They are committed to following all CDC sanitation and distancing guidelines and have implemented additional protocols, such as team members wearing masks and gloves when appropriate or required. Plexiglass and screens are installed in areas with direct contact with guests, and signage, reminders for practicing social distancing, and regular disinfection of all touchable surfaces, and sanitizing of buildings with those electromagnetic sprayers on a regular basis, as well as installation of hand sanitizer stations are all over the place. You can always find the most recent updates and schedules at exposquare.com. Lastly, I want to make a plug for Tulsa County Election Board. Many state, county, and national elections will start taking place in just a few weeks with the June 30 election. Now, this is a big election year, and Tulsa County Election Board is in dire need of poll workers. In fact, they need a staggering 750 plus to support the scheduled elections. Poll workers help make elections run smoothly and ensure the voting public is able to exercise their voting rights. Jobs ranging from inspectors who pick up and return supplies and ballots to judges who verify voter identification and precincts to clerks who issue the appropriate ballots to voters and direct them to voting booths and devices are all open and available for the voting public. Now, a little known fact, poll workers are paid a flat nominal fee for each day they work. But if you're able, willing, or just interested, visit the Tulsa County Election Board website or call 918-596-5780 for more details on how you can become a poll worker. And finally, Tulsa County was absolutely thrilled to help out by allowing the Golden Driller a temporary transformation as an homage to Elon Musk yesterday. We are also excited about the possibility of bringing Tesla to Tulsa. And in case you missed it, our mayor pulled up in this car that made absolutely no noise, no emissions, and he got out elegantly and went up and, of course, spoke elegantly to the crowd. So I'm urging you to go by, get a shot of the Golden Driller, looking a little like Elon Musk, and post that on your social media. Let's make sure that Tesla knows that Tulsa is the place for this very remarkable company to come. We want them here. So thank you all today. Continue to wear your masks in public. We can't emphasize enough how important that is. Thank you.
Dr. Dart, are there any concerns about what's been popping up as Kawasaki disease
So we're still learning more about why that's happening. Frankly, we're not sure. We haven't seen any pediatric inflammatory syndrome cases here, but we are following that. But at this juncture, we're still trying to figure out why this is occurring. The science is not clear yet, so we're strictly in a surveillance mode, and hopefully we'll know more as time passes. So.
Is there any guidance on camping and things that are going to happen this weekend? I mean, a lot of people assume the week will just carry my droplets.
So we have quite a bit of guidance on our website. Frankly, I can't tell you if we have anything specific to camping, but you raise a really good point. Is if we don't, I'll make sure that we get something up before the weekend starts. So thank you for that reminder.
My other question for you is, how long are the COVID-19 wards going to remain in place at OSU? Is it indefinitely until this thing passes, or they're just there until Lord knows when?
You know, we're letting the data tell us, and we're letting the virus tell us. So we're going to pay, and that's why we're doing surveillance. That's why we're following trends, and that's why we're paying so close attention to the data. So whatever the data tells us, we'll respond in kind, and that's what we're doing right now, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Is there still a fear of this coming back in the fall and taking a break in the summer?
So I think, and so we're really wondering about that because, you know, as we said, we started to see some decreasing trends. Of course, today was elevated because we're getting reports from long-term care facilities, but we're starting to wonder if this virus does have a seasonal component to it. We're not sure that that's true. That's our hope, but we fully expect it to come back this fall. It's going to, if it's going to act like influenza, it'll definitely be back this fall. If it doesn't act like influenza, it won't go away for a while until we have either a vaccine or herd immunity. So that's basically our two choices now.
What do you make of the downward trend in positive cases as we reopen and more people get out and about? Is there anything to read into that?
You know, it's too early, to be perfectly honest. And we also know that their labs got slammed, so there's some lag in reporting. We're hoping that labs are catching up now, and we'll get, I think, more the data as it comes in, as opposed to having that lag between tests and being reported. But, you know, we've been hoping all along that once it got sunny, once it got warm, it would impact the virus and it would start to impact that chain of transmission. We're hoping that has something to do with it. It's just too soon. This is the first week we see the downward trend. If we see downward trends coming up, regardless of whether we're testing long-term care facilities or not, we see that downward trend continue, then that tells us maybe this is a seasonal virus. We'll start to see breaks in transmission, but also tells us that it's going to be back in the fall, and it's going to be a part of our life. So that's why we keep telling people not to relax. I mean, we're not back to normal. It's still here, but we can remember to take the precautions that we've all been talking about to ensure that we all stay safe. And we'll continue to follow that trend and those data. We were here before the virus. We'll be here long after the virus.
What sort of level of optimism or pessimism do you have at this point in time?
You know, I'm an optimistic person. I'm a glass half full guy by nature, but this has been so unprecedented that it's really hard to weigh in. And for example, with influenza, we know so much about it. We can be optimistic about what it does. We just don't know enough about coronavirus yet, so that allows us to be either optimistic or pessimistic. I'm happy to see a slight decrease in trends. I'm hoping that continues. The more it does, I think the more information we'll have about what to expect going forward.
Are violators still going to be prosecuted who were cited in the previous month, especially now that the municipal court is open?
Yes.
Is there any kind of grace that's going to be given, or are you still hitting that pretty hard?
I mean, our overall focus in policing that has been first on education, and by and large, in between the Tulsa Police Department and the Tulsa Health Department, when we've had complaints come forward and we've raised those concerns with businesses, we haven't had a lot of problems after that.
How would you rate phase 2 as going? Is it, as you were
Well, I mean, just based on the data, phase 2 is going very well. I would say, though, that, phase 1 was just such a bigger step than phase 2. You know, if you look at, like, the White House phasing guidelines, there's phase one, and then there's a lot of other things in phase two. The state of Oklahoma took a much more aggressive approach and did a lot more in phase one than were necessarily in the White House guidelines. But that was useful for us because we were able to test all of that out in phase one, and we emerged from that with downward test trajectories, and I think gave us a lot more confidence going into phase two than we might have had otherwise. So far, you know, the numbers in phase two look very good.
Are you restricting non-essential travel still, and does that complicate, you know, talks with Tesla out in California? How does that all?
No, we've lifted that at the recommendation or advice of our city physician. For our city employees, that restriction was lifted last week.
Can you give us an update on the Navistar negotiations? Are they still happening, or it seems like, you know, we're attracting Tesla, but we may be losing a bus company.
The only person saying that we're in a threat of losing them are their PR firm out of Chicago. The discussions with Navistar, from my vantage point, have been very positive and constructive, and I remain very confident that we're going to resolve this in a win-win for the company, for the city, and for the employees. I mean, we all want the same thing. We want them here for a long time, building great products that get shipped all around the world. And I remain very confident that we're going to get there.
Do we have any more COVID questions? Okay, one more for Commissioner Keith, and that's it.
Commissioner Keith, what is the chatter about the state fair? Obviously, that takes a lot of planning.
It does. Well, I know in mid-July, we really need to figure out whether we can do the fair or not. A lot of money gets spent in advance for that event. We are looking to see what other fairs are doing across the country. Our midway provider, you know, for them to even come here is about $500,000 just to get set up here. So I can promise you we're looking at it every day, but we don't have anything definitive. I think maybe by mid-July, late July, we'll be able to tell you something on that. So it's not dead yet. We would like to be able to do it, but obviously it's going to need to be less density and, you know, those types of things. Not quite as big.